That day, I got the promotion I'd been dreaming of for years. A transfer to Clearwater, Florida, a 30% raise, an apartment near the ocean. I was driving home, picturing my wife Sarah's face when I told her the news, and then I saw it. Her silver Honda Accord, to be precise. The busted front grille I'd promised to fix last week was screaming at me, and it was parked outside a sleazy motel called the Crossroads Inn. Just that afternoon, my world was perfect. My boss had called me in, introduced me to the previous owner of a newly acquired plant, and laid it all out. "Jim," he'd said, "we're putting you in charge of the maintenance staff in Clearwater. It comes with a 30% raise and a free 2-bedroom apartment for the first year. The only question is, are you ready to move to Florida?" I didn't even hesitate. "My wife Sarah complains about the Ohio winters every year," I told him. Her biggest fear was a transfer to Michigan. When she hears about a raise in Clearwater, she'll be thrilled. She can transfer to any Build Mart down there. "I'll take it." We shook hands, and he told me to take the company car and the rest of the day off. Driving away, I was already imagining our new life. Our daughter, Chloe, could finish her last semester of high school in the sun, forgetting all about her loser boyfriend. Everything was finally falling into place. But then I saw that silver Honda. My heart started pounding in my chest. I pulled the company car to the far end of the parking lot, into an empty space right next to hers. My first instinct was rage. The desire to drag whoever was in that room out into the parking lot and beat him senseless. But rage is messy. I needed something cold, something clean. Then I realized I was in the company car, a vehicle Sarah had never seen, with windows tinted darker than was probably legal. I could just wait, see who she walked out with. But after a few minutes, just sitting there felt too passive. I needed to take control, and then a simple, perfect plan formed in my mind. Sarah's spare tire was sitting in our garage. I'd fixed a puncture a few days ago and hadn't put it back in the trunk yet. I knew if she got a flat, her first and only call would be to me. With a furtive glance around, I slipped out of the car, my jackknife already open. A quick, sharp hiss from the valve stem on the left rear tire was all it took. By the time I was back in the driver's seat of the company car, her tire was completely flat. I leaned back and waited. It didn't take long. Half an hour later, I heard a curse right outside my window. "Damn it, what am I supposed to do now?" It was Sarah's voice. "No problem, gorgeous," a man's voice replied. "After a lunch like that, I'm happy to help." My world shattered. "I don't have a spare," Sarah complained. "My husband never put it back in the trunk after he fixed it. It's sitting in the garage at home." Her lover chuckled. A deep, arrogant sound. What a useless idiot. I always make sure my wife's car is in perfect shape. Can't have her stranded somewhere with the kids. So, what's the plan? "Let's just go back to the room," Sarah suggested. "We can warm up while I figure it out." I watched them walk back toward the motel door, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. I waited for my phone to ring. I rehearsed the conversation in my head, the questions I'd ask when she told me to bring the spare to a motel near the airport. The only problem with this perfect plan? My phone never rang. 20 minutes later, a familiar blue Toyota Corolla pulled into the lot and parked on the other side of Sarah's Honda. My blood ran cold. It was my daughter, Chloe. She was delivering the spare tire to her cheating mother. I thought my world had collapsed an hour ago. I was wrong. This was the real ground zero. Chloe knocked on the motel room door. It opened a minute later. I couldn't hear their words, but I saw Chloe walk to her car, pop the trunk, and heave the spare tire onto the asphalt just as Sarah and her lover Frank walked out. "Frank, you get that. Chloe has her big basketball game tonight. She can't risk an injury," Sarah ordered, not a hint of shame in her voice. Frank just grinned. "Sure thing. Anything for my 2 favorite girls. December ticket. I have to get to school and prep for the game. Can you take it from here? Chloe asked, her voice tight with annoyance. No problem, superstar, replied the man I now knew as Frank. Soon as I get this on, your mom can drop me at Build Mart to get my truck. I'll even have time to catch your game tonight. I'll be rooting for you. Thanks, Frank. Just don't sit too close to Mom. My dad will be there, and I don't want any drama while I'm playing. Frank just laughed, a sound that made my blood run cold. Don't you worry about your old man. I doubt he'll ever figure out what's going on. And even if he did, what's he gonna do? He knows better than to question me. Frank, I asked you not to talk about Jim like that. My loving wife interjected. He's my husband and Chloe's father. He's a good man, and he deserves some respect. Chloe looked at her mother, her face a mask of disbelief. Respect? In what universe is this showing him respect? I just want to get through graduation before you two blow up our family. There will be no divorce. I told you, I love your father, Sarah insisted. You're delusional, Mom. Dad will not tolerate you having boyfriends. Sooner or later, he will catch you. Boyfriends? Plural? Sarah scoffed. It's only Frank. And we're just friends with benefits. It's not serious. We're just having fun while it lasts. I deserve a little fun after all the time and effort I've put into our marriage. Dad spent just as much time, and probably more effort. Chloe shot back. What if he had a girlfriend? Sarah actually laughed. Your father? Please. You know how shy he is with women. It took him a month to work up the courage to ask me out on our first date. He's a dad, a good husband. He's not a cheater. And Frank is. Chloe gestured at him as he struggled with the tire iron. You just said Dad is a good husband because he's faithful, but you're here with a guy who is cheating on his wife and kids. Is this your idea of fun? A dirty motel room? That was cruel and uncalled for, Sarah snapped. I'm not arguing about this. You need to get to school. Frank and I will be there soon. We'll be cheering for you. For some reason, I don't feel so warm and fuzzy, Chloe countered, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Just keep him away from Dad. Frank doesn't believe it, but my dad would kick his ass. Chloe got into her Toyota and peeled out of the parking lot, leaving Sarah and her lover alone. I sat there, numb, long after Sarah had driven away. Her cheating was a knife in the gut, but knowing my daughter was in on it, actively helping to cover it up, that was the blow that shattered me completely. When I finally snapped out of it, I realized Chloe's game was about to start. I had never missed a single one in her entire high school career. But that Jim, the supportive father, was gone. I drove my truck home. I had no appetite and even less desire to see my wife and daughter. I sat at the kitchen table, the six-pack of beer my only company. 1 minute I was on top of the world. The next, my entire life was a pile of crap. The irony was suffocating. Sarah probably wouldn't even want to move to Clearwater now that she had Frank. The more I thought, the hotter the anger burned. I was always faithful. I worked my ass off for them. I didn't deserve this. I thought she loved me. Then I realized she'd been unusually affectionate since the summer. She knew if she kept me satisfied in bed, I'd be happy and clueless. And damn it, it had worked perfectly. But she didn't know about the promotion. She didn't know the transfer was to Florida. If I mentioned a move, she'd assume it was to that plant in Michigan she always dreaded. A cold, brilliant idea began to form. She would never agree to move there. She and Emily could stay here in Ohio with her friend with benefits. And I would go to Florida. I'd move into that apartment, feel the sun on my face, and deal with my family from 1,000 miles away. It wasn't total revenge, but it was a start. I had the weekend and the next week to prepare. I'd leave after Thanksgiving. They'd think I was heading north into the cold. They wouldn't even ask to come. With a plan in place, a strange calm washed over me. To avoid seeing them tonight, I grabbed 4 Ambien from the medicine cabinet and washed them down with the last beer. I knew from experience that it would take a bomb to wake me up before sunrise. I went to the master bedroom, gathered enough clothes for the next day, and moved them into the spare bedroom. I took my toiletries into the second bathroom. Then I closed the guest room door, shutting them out. 10 minutes later, the pills dragged me into darkness. "He's home," Chloe noted, seeing my truck in the garage. "I wonder why he didn't come to the game. I hope he's not sick. Looks like he drank most of a six-pack," Sarah observed, walking into the kitchen and seeing the empty cans on the table. "That's not like Jim. He must have had a rough day at work. I hope he's okay. I'm going to check on him," Sarah said, but she was surprised when she found their bed empty. She returned to the kitchen. "He's not in our room. He's not in the garage or watching TV. Where could he be? Basement? Laundry room?" Chloe offered. "My room? The guest room?" They found him in the guest bedroom, dead to the world, breathing deeply into his pillow. Their attempts to wake him were useless. "I think he's drunk," Chloe suggested. "I've never seen him like this. I wonder why he missed my game." "Let's just ask him in the morning," Sarah replied, closing the door softly. "He's probably just coming down with a cold. Sometimes he sleeps in here to avoid getting me sick. He'll feel bad enough in the morning. Don't make it worse about the game." She tried to change the subject. "Frank thought you played great. He says you could get a scholarship. Why is it so hard for you to understand that I don't care what Frank thinks?" Chloe snapped. "As far as I'm concerned, he's a cheating scumbag, and if I never see him again, it'll be too soon." "Don't be like that," Sarah protested. "Why can't you just be happy for me? I like him. He makes me feel young and desirable again." "Because I can't stop worrying about Dad," Chloe said, her voice dropping. "It's going to break his heart when he finds out about Frank." "That's why he's not going to find out," Sarah said firmly. "I give your father all the love he can handle. Frank just gets the overflow. He trusts me completely. He'll never suspect a thing." "Keep telling yourself that, Mom," Chloe said, turning and walking to her room. At 5 a.m., my eyes snapped open. I dressed quietly and slipped out of the house. I had just finished my pancakes at Joe's Diner when my cell phone rang. "Jim, are you okay?" Sarah asked, her voice laced with manufactured concern. "You missed Chloe's game. You slept in the guest room. You left before dawn. This isn't like you." "Decided to be a little more unpredictable," I said flatly, then hung up and turned off my phone. I spent the entire morning at the plant, methodically loading my personal tools and equipment into the bed of my F-150. I'd need them in my new life. With every box I packed, the rage cooled into a solid cold resolve. I couldn't change the past, but I could damn well take control of the future. A new job, new people, and better weather. I was determined to make this work for me. The key was secrecy. Thanksgiving was D-Day. Until then, they would think I was miserable and preparing for a move to Michigan. It was late afternoon when I finally walked back into the house. "Don't you ever hang up on me again," Sarah shouted, confronting me in the hallway. "You missed Chloe's big game, which they won. If you even care to get drunk and pass out, then you sneak out to avoid me. I suppose you expect me to cook you dinner now? You can starve for all I care." 2 days ago, her anger would have filled me with guilt. I would have apologized. Now, it was just noise. Her happiness was no longer my problem. I just nodded and walked right back out the door. 10 minutes later, I was at a local sports bar, ordering a rack of ribs. To my own surprise, I actually enjoyed myself. I drank a couple of beers and argued football with some strangers about the Steelers' chances against the Ravens. It was almost 11 p.m. when I got home. Sarah and Chloe were in the living room, watching a movie. "So, you decided to honor us with your presence," Sarah said sarcastically. "Don't even think about sleeping in my bed until you've apologized to me and Chloe for acting like a complete jackass." "Okay," was all I said, walking past them toward the bedrooms. I quickly grabbed my clothes for the next day and took them into the guest room, closing the door behind me. "He doesn't seem too bothered by you being upset," Chloe noted after I was gone. Sarah just grinned, confident. "You don't know your father. He won't last 2 nights before he comes crawling back to my bed. He knows what he'd be missing." "Probably," Chloe answered, though she sounded doubtful. "I just hope he doesn't find out how good Frank is." "Please, stop saying his name," Sarah hissed. "I'm trying to keep this a secret, and you constantly bringing him up isn't helping." Her daughter's judgment was becoming a constant irritation. What had gotten into Jim? No arguments, no fights, just this cold, infuriating indifference. Well, he'd come around. The sex was too good for him to go without it for long. She was sure of it. Sunday morning, I was up early again. Breakfast at Joe's Diner again. Then, a long walk in the park. It was a cold, peaceful morning. In Mexter, that November morning, I enjoyed the crisp Ohio air on my face, knowing it was the last time I'd have to feel this kind of cold. Soon, it would be nothing but the Florida sun. I got home just before noon with a 6-pack, flipped on the TV, and settled in for the Steelers pre-game show. For the first hour, Sarah ignored me. Then, she stomped out to the garage and peeled out of the driveway. She returned around 6:30, and by 7, with no sign of dinner, I turned off the TV and left. 20 minutes later, I was back at my usual spot in the sports bar, eating ribs and watching football. The Steelers crushed the Ravens. I found myself smiling for the first time in days. They were playing the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, and I couldn't wait to watch them destroy America's team. "Dad's been acting really weird, don't you think?" Chloe asked her mother later that night. "He usually watches the whole game here. Did you guys have a fight?" "We've barely spoken," Sarah admitted. "I told him he wasn't welcome in my bed until he apologized for missing your game. And I'm not cooking for him until his attitude improves. He'll miss my cooking and my affection eventually. He'll apologize." When I got home, they were watching a movie. I walked right past them and into the guest room, closing the door behind me. For the next few days, our house was a cold war zone. Sarah was baffled by my silence. She expected me to break, to apologize. She'd never seen me so defiant, and it made her uneasy. To make things worse, when she met Frank at the motel on Tuesday, she got another flat tire. She decided it was too much of a coincidence and told him they couldn't use that motel anymore. Luckily, she'd had the first tire repaired, and Frank changed it for her again. Meanwhile, I was executing my plan. On Monday, I packed up all the clothes I intended to take with me. Tuesday morning, I loaded the last of my personal belongings and tools into my truck. I left just enough clothes in the closet so it still looked full. I wondered if she'd noticed that none of them were for cold weather. On both Monday and Tuesday afternoons, I drove to the Build Mart parking lot and waited. I watched her leave work, followed her long enough to make sure she was heading home, then drove to my favorite bar for dinner and Monday night football. "Dad's not coming home for dinner again?" Chloe asked her mom at the table. "Who knows? He's still not talking to me," Sarah huffed. "I don't know what's gotten into him." "Maybe it's what's gotten into you," Chloe asked pointedly. "You kicked him out of your bed and told him you wouldn't cook for him. Why would he come home?" "I can't just give in," Sarah said. "Besides, I'm meeting Frank tomorrow." "You'll have to eat leftovers." Chloe's fork clattered onto her plate. "So much for giving Frank just the overflow. You skip dinner with your family and treat Dad like dirt, but you rush off to please Frank." "At least Frank isn't acting like an ass," Sarah insisted. "He treats me with respect." "Respect?" Chloe scoffed. "Does Frank take out the trash, mow the lawn, pay the mortgage? No. Dad does all of that and more. You expect everything from him, and you withhold the one thing you should be giving him freely just to hand it over to a guy who's done nothing to earn it except tell you you're sexy. It's disgusting." "That is unacceptable," Sarah snapped. "I am your mother, and you will show me some respect. And Dad expects you to show him respect and be faithful. Chloe shot back. Respect is earned, Mom, not demanded. That evening, Chloe caught me as I was walking upstairs. Dad, my district championship game is tomorrow at 4. Do you think you can make it? I'll check my schedule, I said, not breaking my stride. I think he's angry with me, too, Chloe complained to her mother. I haven't done anything, but he acts like I don't exist. He's just in a mood, Sarah reassured her. He'll be at the game tomorrow. But the next evening, Chloe was in tears. His truck is in the garage. He could have come. He just didn't want to. Why is he so angry with me? That's a good question. Sarah agreed, her voice tight with frustration. Let's go find out. Once again, they found an empty six-pack on the counter. Once again, I was passed out in the guest room, completely unresponsive, thanks to my friend, Mr. Ambien. Defeated, they returned to the living room. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, Chloe said quietly. Are you even going to let Dad eat with us? Of course, Sarah said, as if it were obvious. Both our parents are coming. It's his house. In place 10. I'm not holding him back. He knows it. Hopefully, he'll be on better behavior by then. I invited some people over, around 4. Who did you invite, Mom? Please tell me it's not Frank. Frank and his wife are coming. I think he and Jim will get along great. They both love football and hunting. They have a lot in common, Sarah reasoned. The problem is, one of the things they have in common is you, Chloe shot back. Husbands don't typically like sharing that with their hunting buddies. You're subconsciously trying to get caught. This is a monumentally bad idea. I just think Jim needs more friends. Frank will be good for him. You have officially lost your mind, Chloe insisted. There is no universe where this ends well. We'll see, Sarah replied, a smug little smile on her face. I think you'll be surprised. I got up early on Thanksgiving morning, had a quiet breakfast at a small diner, and returned to the house around 9. The smells of turkey, potatoes, and pies hit me like a wall. We're eating at noon, Sarah announced, trying to be cheerful. Our parents will be here any minute. Can I get you a drink? I just shook my head, walked into the living room, and turned on the TV. I knew she was offering an olive branch, but I had no interest in taking it. I greeted both sets of our parents warmly when they arrived. They were good people who had always treated me with respect. As the family sat around the table passing dishes, I cleared my throat. I have an announcement to make. I'm being transferred to another company plant. I'm leaving tomorrow morning. The assignment will last until spring, maybe longer. Sarah was stunned. She had a million questions, but the most pressing one was unspoken. Michigan? This was why he'd been so strange. He knew she would never agree to quit her job to go freeze in Michigan. I'll be going alone, I continued, answering the question in her eyes. It wouldn't be fair to ask Chloe to change schools for her final semester or for Sarah to quit her job. I'll just have to tough it out alone for a few months. The grandparents started chattering about the brutal winters up north, while Sarah and Chloe exchanged worried glances. The narrative was set. Poor Jim was being sent to an icy wasteland, and that's why he'd been in such a foul mood. After dinner, my dad, Sarah's dad, and I sat down to watch the Steelers get demolished by the Cowboys. We were all disgusted. As we were watching the post-game analysis, the doorbell rang. I didn't pay it much mind until Sarah cleared her throat in the hallway. Everyone, I'd like you to meet some friends. This is Nancy and her husband Frank. She introduced them around the room, saving me for last. When Frank approached me, I was already on my feet. He was grinning like a Cheshire cat, wearing a Dallas Cowboys jersey with a huge star on the chest. His smile widened as he stuck out his hand. Hey, Jimmy! Heard a lot about you, he said, his voice dripping with condescension. That was it. That was the line. He wasn't just a cheater. He was a smug, arrogant bastard who had come into my house on Thanksgiving. wearing the jersey of the team that just humiliated my team, to laugh in my face. He was laughing at me, at my team, but most of all, at my inability to control my own wife. Without a word, my leg shot out. My boot connected squarely with his groin. As he doubled over, my knee came up and met his face with a sickening crunch. He dropped to the floor in a fetal position, blood gushing from his shattered nose. For a few seconds, the room was frozen in shock. Then Nancy screamed. Sarah ran to the bathroom and started vomiting. Chloe, ever the pragmatist, grabbed a washcloth and filled it with ice, handing it to Nancy. I was as stunned as everyone else. I looked at the horrified faces of my family, grabbed my coat, and walked out the door. I didn't stop driving until I was in Hillsville, Virginia. I rented a motel room and was asleep in minutes. When I woke up the next morning, I turned my phone on. The voicemail box was full. I listened to a few frantic messages from my mother, Sarah, and Chloe, then deleted them all. I stuck to my plan, heading south. I kept replaying the scene in my head. That idiot Frank deserved it. But what were the consequences? Was I going to be arrested? Fired? Would Sarah divorce me now? I realized I needed to know what was happening, so I decided to leave the phone on but screen the calls. Not 30 minutes later, it rang. Sarah. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, I checked the message. Jim, please call me. I know the transfer has you upset, but you need to get a hold of yourself. Frank's going to be okay, but his nose needs surgery. He's not going to press charges. Please, just call me. I drove all day. At 5 p.m., I arrived at the apartment in Clearwater. Just like they said, the key was in a lockbox attached to an outside faucet. Ease End. The code the company emailed me a few days ago worked. I opened the lockbox, pulled out the key, and stepped into my new life. The silence was the first thing I noticed. No TV blaring, no one asking me questions. Just peace. It was already past 7 by the time I unpacked my clothes and essentials. I parked the truck in the attached garage, made the bed, and collapsed. It was Friday night. I had 2 days before I had to be a new man at a new job. The apartment had a few minor issues, so I decided Saturday would be for maintenance. But first, I had to control the narrative. The last thing I needed was Sarah calling my new workplace, finding out I was in sunny Clearwater, and deciding to join me. I had to make one last call into the Lion's Den. I dialed her number Saturday morning. Hello, Sarah. It's Where the Hell Are You? She screamed into the phone. We've been calling all night. Your phone was off. What is wrong with you? Frank has a broken nose and a concussion because he likes a different football team. Are you insane? When are you click? I ended the call, turned off my phone, and made a shopping list. An hour later, I returned from Build Mart with a new deadbolt for the front door, an AC filter, cleaning supplies, and a 30-pack of beer. At noon, I turned my phone on and called Chloe. Dad, I'm glad you called. All hell broke loose here after you redecorated Frank's face, she said, a note of dark humor in her voice. The ambulance came. Both sets of grandparents thought you'd finally lost your mind, and Mom was terrified they were going to sue. I had to wipe blood off the hardwood while she drove Nancy to the hospital, apologizing 100 times. Besides that, anything interesting happen? I asked dryly. Oh, just one thing, Chloe added. Mom is furious that you hung up on her. Again. She was just getting warmed up when you cut her off. I could tell, I replied. That's why I called you. I start the new job on Monday. If anyone asks where I am, like the police, just tell them I'm working. Don't worry about the cops, Chloe said. Frank isn't pressing charges. His wife wanted to, but he shut it down. So, what's with all the secrecy? This is why you've been acting so weird, isn't it? The transfer? The day I found out about the transfer was significant, I said carefully. It made me think about where I am in my life and where I need to be. One conclusion I came to is that no one respects a man who doesn't respect himself. I lost my way for a while, Chloe. Now I'm finding it again. Are you okay, Dad? Is there something wrong we should know about? She asked, genuine concern in her voice. The question was a knife in my gut. You and your mother already know about my problems. I answered quietly. I'm sure of it. Just tell her I'm settled in and not to worry about me. Okay, Dad. I will. Can I call you sometimes? Will you pick up? The anger I felt towards her was a bitter pill. She was my daughter, and I loved her, but she had helped them deceive me. Still, cutting her out completely felt wrong. If you don't call when I'm at work, I'll answer, I said after a long pause. What about Mom? Will you answer her calls? If she wants to call me and tell me what a monster I am, she can save her breath. I'll just hang up, I said sharply. If there's a real problem, the house is on fire, someone's in the hospital, she can call. That's the deal. Okay, I'll let her know. Good luck at the new job, Dad. And stay warm. Is it really cold there? A slow smile spread across my face. Actually, Chloe, the weather is better than I ever dared to hope. I'll do just fine here. Goodbye. As soon as Chloe hung up, Sarah was on her. What did he say? Did he apologize? Is he scared to come home? He's not scared of anything, Chloe told her. He said no one would respect him if he didn't respect himself. That's why he hit Frank, and why he keeps hanging up on you. If you ever want to talk to him again, you're going to have to actually show him some respect. Respect? Sarah shrieked. He's the one who assaulted a guest in our home over a football jersey. I'll tell him exactly what I think next time I talk to him. And that's exactly why he won't talk to you, Chloe retorted. He wasn't laughing about the Cowboys beating the Eagles, Mom. He was laughing because he's sleeping with Dad's wife in Dad's town and thought Dad was too stupid and weak to do anything about it. Any man would have snapped. Jim doesn't know anything about Frank and me, Sarah objected. It doesn't matter. You don't come into another man's house and disrespect him like that, Chloe shouted. I'm not going to listen to this anymore. On Wednesday evening, I was relaxing by the apartment complex pool when my phone rang. Sarah. I let it go to voicemail. A few minutes later, I checked the message. Jim, I know you're screening my calls. Please call back. We need to figure things out with the house. Who's going to shovel the driveway when it snows? Do I sign the contract for the fuel oil? Which company do we use? Please, call me. I listened to the message twice. There was no anger, just questions. Practical questions. I didn't care about her worries. But the house was my asset, and I wouldn't let it fall into disrepair because of her incompetence. She had questions, and I had the answers. I decided to call her back. Thank you for calling back, Jim, she said, her voice calm and controlled. I'm just worried about all the things you usually handle around here, now that winter is coming. Zeri, play. I'll make a detailed list of companies and contacts and email it to you, I promised. I should have thought of it sooner. Are you coming home for Christmas? Sarah asked, her voice suddenly small. My parents invited us for Christmas dinner, and your parents want to see us on Christmas Eve. They keep asking if I've talked to you. It's awkward telling them no. They say you won't answer their calls either. I'll answer their calls when they stop leaving messages that sound like I'm a fugitive from justice, I said flatly. Every voicemail, even from my own mother, is an attack. I'm done with it. So, you're not coming home? Why would I? To be the villain of the family Christmas? To sit there while everyone glares at me for what I did to poor, innocent Frank? No, thank you. If they want me there because they actually enjoy my company, that's one thing. If they just want a punching bag for their moral outrage, I'm not interested. But Emily and I want to see you, she sobbed, and I could practically hear her gearing up for the real play. We miss you. Don't you miss us? Don't you miss our bed? There it was. The manipulation. The thought of being in bed with her now, after picturing her with Frank, made my stomach turn. She wasn't getting sloppy seconds from him anymore. He'd be getting them from me. That part of our life is complicated now, Sarah, I said, leaving the words hanging in the air, denying her the reassurance she craved. But you're the best lover in the world, she cried, her voice thick with desperation. I miss you in my bed so much. Please, come home for Christmas. We could have the whole week. They don't usually grant that week off this late, I said, my voice cold and non-committal. So many people book it in advance. I'll see what I can do. I'll let you know. I hung up before she could say another word. So, he's the best lover in the world? Chloe repeated, having overheard the whole pathetic conversation. Wow. I hope Frank doesn't hear you saying that. It might bruise his delicate ego. Your father is better than Frank, Sarah said defensively. Frank's more entertaining, but your father is better. Chloe let out a short, bitter laugh. Right. So Dad's the reliable family minivan, and Frank's the fun little sports car you take for a joyride when you're bored. Got it. Her mother burst into tears and fled the room. My new life was taking shape. I spent an hour at the pool every day after work, my Ohio pallor slowly turning into a golden tan. I felt the tension of the last 20 years draining out of me. The job was easy. I knew the equipment inside and out. The surprising part was the social life. My condo complex was a haven for widows, divorcees, and single women. Once word got out that I was handy with tools, I became the most popular man in the building. I didn't mind. The ladies always repaid my kindness, leaving home-cooked meals, a six-pack of beer, or a bottle of wine at my door. A few days before Christmas, Sarah was pressuring me daily for a decision. I had just finished fixing a stubborn closet door for Anna Struthers, the attractive widow from down the hall. I turned around from putting my tools away, and she was standing by the bed, naked. I'd like to repay you for your kindness, Jim. The middle-aged woman smiled. I don't have a lot of extra cash, but I have a surplus of gratitude. I was floored. I had never cheated on my wife. In my entire life, Sarah was the only woman I'd ever been with. But Anna was a beautiful woman. She had a confidence and a directness that was both intimidating and incredibly alluring. Anna, wow. I stammered, taking a step back. I'm flattered. Really? But my situation back home is a complete mess. I looked at her, at the genuine offer in her eyes, and decided on the truth. I have never cheated on my wife. And even though she might not be my wife for much longer, I need to settle that first, one way or another. Can I give you an answer after the holidays? She smiled, a slow, knowing smile. That's the most honorable thing a man has said to me in a very long time, Jim. The offer stands. Let me know after you get back. Guy Dannon off-air. I understand. Anna nodded, pulling a silk robe over her shoulders. The fool didn't appreciate the gem she had, did she? Cheated on you. She cinched the belt. Well, I'll be here. The offer will still be good after the holidays. And you know, you're not the only lonely person in this building. All the ladies like you, Jim. You're a gentleman, kind, helpful. If you decide that marriage is over, you'll find plenty of us ready to console you. I called Sarah and told her I'd try to make it home for Christmas Eve. Her genuine happiness at the news surprised me. A part of me missed them, missed the life I thought I had. I needed to resolve this, one way or another. So, 3 days before Christmas, I started driving north. I split the trip into 2 days, giving myself time to stop and buy gifts. I figured I could handle one Christmas Eve dinner. If my parents or hers started in on me, I'd just leave. It was 9 p.m. on the 23rd when I turned onto my street. The driveway was packed with cars. Sarah was throwing her annual informal holiday party for her Build Mart friends. As I walked toward the front door, I glanced through the kitchen window. And there he was, Frank, big as life and twice as ugly. I wasn't about to cause another scene and ruin Christmas. I walked around the back of the house, let myself into the basement, and stretched out on the old sofa down there. I'd just wait until the party thinned out and he was gone. I must have dozed off. When I woke up a couple of hours later, the house was quiet. I crept back outside and peeked in the window. Only one unfamiliar car was left in the driveway. I looked into the kitchen again. This time, Sarah was with Frank. His hand was on her breast, and he was kissing her. Right there in my kitchen. The old rage came roaring back, hot and blinding. I wanted to smash through the window and tear him apart, but I'd gotten away with it once. A second time would be prison for sure. I needed to be smarter. A new plan formed. Sneak upstairs, wait for them, catch them in the act, get photographic evidence. Then I'd tell Sarah to go to hell and drive back to my new life in Florida. I slipped into the house and up the stairs without a sound, hiding in the dark guest room with the door cracked open. 20 minutes later, Sarah came upstairs and went into the master bedroom. I heard the shower turn on. She was washing herself clean for him. The thought made me sick. Then, I heard Frank's footsteps on the stairs. An idea, cold and vicious, struck me. I reached into the hallway and switched off the small lamp at the top of the stairs, plunging the second floor into darkness. Frank muttered something as the light went out, but kept climbing. I stepped out of the guest room and stood at the precipice of the stairs. In the dim light from the street lights outside, I could just make out his silhouette. When he was 3 steps from the top, I swung my leg. I felt the heel of my work boot connect with his jaw. The sound was wet and dull. He didn't scream. He just vanished backwards into the darkness, tumbling down the stairs like a rag doll. He hit the bottom landing with a final, sickening thud and lay completely still. The only sound in the house was the shower running upstairs. Sarah hadn't heard a thing. The rage began to recede, replaced by a cold dread. If he was dead, I was done for. I quickly stepped over his motionless body, walked out the front door, and got in my truck. I didn't stop driving until dawn, pulling into a cheap motel a few hundred miles away and paying cash. After 4 hours of restless sleep, I was back on the road, heading south. What had I done? My life was over. They weren't worth going to prison for. And yet, a part of me felt a profound loss. Until a few weeks ago, Sarah and Chloe had been my entire universe. At noon, my phone rang. My dad. I let it go to voicemail, not having the strength to explain why I wouldn't be there for Christmas dinner or why I had just possibly murdered a man. Half an hour later, I worked up the courage to listen to the message. "Jim, this is your father. Call us when you get this. All hell has broken loose at your house. Sarah and Chloe are fine, but you need to know what's happened." I dialed his number. "Dad, I just got your message. What's going on?" "There's no easy way to say this, son," he began. "That bastard Frank was at your house again last night. He fell down the stairs. He's hurt bad. Broken jaw, broken arm, a few broken ribs, another concussion." His wife was furious. She thought he was working late doing inventory. She showed up at your house before the paramedics even got there, slapped Sarah across the face, called her every name in the book, tried to pull Frank off the gurney before the cops stopped her. He took a deep breath. "Son, this puts Thanksgiving in a whole new light. We were upset with you then. We thought you just snapped over a football jersey. Now that we have a clearer picture, your mother and I, we want to apologize. We should have known you wouldn't do something like that without a damn good reason. We're proud of you, son. You showed more restraint than I would have. You rowed. Thank you, Dad. How's Chloe? Was she there for all of that?" I asked. There was a heavy sigh on the other end of the line. "That's another problem, son." She admitted she knew about the affair. Said she was trying to keep the family together until she graduated. Needless to say, we were very disappointed. Your mother told her she betrayed you just as badly as Sarah did. There were a lot of tears, but we're family. We'll get through it. Thank you, Dad, for everything, for helping Chloe understand. Son, where are you really? I know you said you were transferred, but moving to Michigan in December, that's pretty drastic. A surge of pride cut through the misery. The company bought a plant in Clearwater, Florida, Dad. I was promoted to maintenance supervisor. Got a big raise and a nice apartment. Florida? Well, I'll be damned. He chuckled. That's fantastic. Mind if your mother and I come visit in February? We'll be sick of the winter by then. Anytime, Dad. Just, please, don't tell Sarah where I am. I can't deal with her right now. I hear you, son. And you should talk to Chloe. She feels terrible about all this. She thinks you must have known about the affair for a while, because you were so cold to both of them before you left. Did you know Chloe knew? The question hung in the air. I've got to go, Dad, I said, ending the call. It was dusk on Christmas Eve when I got back to my apartment. My first Christmas alone. I turned on the TV, opened a beer, and sat on the sofa, letting the emptiness wash over me. A few minutes later, the doorbell rang. Saw your lights on, Anna Struthers said, holding a bottle of wine. Came to wish you a Merry Christmas. It's no good for either of us to be alone tonight. The fact that you came back so soon tells me you didn't reconcile with your wife. A reasonable assumption. I agreed. Her boyfriend was planning to sleep in my bed. So, you hate crowds? She asked, with a sly smile. Unless it's a couple of women? What about one woman? She countered, stepping inside. I might make you move a little, but I don't think you'll mind. I considered her offer for all of a second. I would like that very much. But I should warn you, it's been a while. My wife was looking elsewhere. I seriously doubt you were the problem, Anna said, her voice dropping to a husky whisper as she took the beer from my hand and placed it on the counter. When a man is as kind and selfless as you are in everyday life, you can bet he's a damn good lover in the bedroom. Do you have any condoms? No, I admitted, realizing how out of practice I was. Haven't used one in 20 years. It's a thoughtful thing to have on hand, she said, pulling a small box from her purse. Your partners will appreciate it. It was the best Christmas Eve of my life. The anger and pain began to fade, replaced by a potent cocktail of pleasure and validation. Anna helped me remember that life was, in fact, worth living. She slipped out before dawn on Christmas morning to avoid the condo gossips, but agreed to meet me at the heated pool later that afternoon. That evening, I enjoyed another home-cooked meal at her apartment, followed by another round of incredible lovemaking. I left around 9, careful not to be seen. A few minutes after I got back to my place, my phone rang. It was Chloe. Dad, you didn't come home. I don't blame you. Mom's a mess, and I feel like crap. I'm so sorry for what I did. I was selfish. I just wanted us to stay together until I graduated. It's water under the bridge, Chloe, I said, my voice softer than I expected. I won't lie. You both hurt me deeply. I had no idea your mother was unhappy. And it never occurred to me that you would help her hide something like that from me. That's the crazy part. She's not unhappy with you. She always told me you were a good husband, a great father, an amazing lover. She said she just wanted to try something different. Now she regrets it all. She paused. Dad, did you know about Frank on Thanksgiving? Yes, and I'm not sorry I hit him. The way he and your mother disrespected me in my own home. I just snapped. I'm glad you did, Chloe said fiercely. I saw his stupid grin. He was gloating. It was never about the damn Cowboys jersey. She took a breath. Were you there? That day at the motel? When I brought the spare tire? You cut the valve stem, didn't you? You wanted to see if she'd call you for help. Yes. I'm so sorry, Dad. I was so stupid. And now I'm paying for it. Don't. I'm the one who should have confronted her on the spot, but I've learned I have some anger issues I need to work on. I probably would have sent them both to the hospital. I doubt it, Dad, Chloe said quietly. You'd never hurt Mom. Frank is another story. Grandpa told me he fell down the stairs. Said he's pretty messed up. He'll recover, I said, leaving it at that. Hey, guess what I found in the basement? A new laptop. You must have left it for me for Christmas. Thank you. I'll use it a lot, especially next year in college. Prove. I'm glad you liked it, I said, a sudden memory of placing that gift on the dusty sofa in the basement flashing through my mind. Did you find the one for your mother too? She cried like a baby when she saw the pearl necklace, Chloe said softly. It just made her feel even worse about how she treated you. Funny, I didn't find them until a few days ago when I was looking for the Christmas lights. Thank you for being such a good father. Even when, I'm just starting to appreciate you like I should have all along. Don't be so hard on yourself, I chuckled. When I was your age, I thought my parents were dumber than a box of rocks. I love you, Dad. Maybe I can even find a way to get up to Michigan to visit you this winter. About that, I said, deciding it was time. I didn't tell the whole truth about my transfer. The company bought a plant in Clearwater, Florida. This is where I am now. I have a spare bedroom, a pool right outside, and the ocean is a couple of blocks away. There was a stunned silence. Are you kidding me? If Mom and I had known that, we would have packed our bags in a second. Oh, I guess you didn't really want us, did you? We didn't deserve it after what we did. I don't blame you for not telling us. You don't have to tell her, I said, though it's not a secret anymore. I'll email her my address so we can handle the divorce by mail. Divorce, she whispered. I understand. I warned her this would happen. Good night, Dad. I'll probably try to come visit. Chloe had barely put her phone down when Sarah came into the room. Did I hear you right? Your father isn't in Michigan? He's in Clearwater, Florida, Mom, Chloe said, her voice flat. And he didn't lie. He said he was transferred. We just assumed. He didn't tell us because he was there, at the motel, when you called me for the spare tire. He heard everything. He knew. But why didn't he say anything? Was he afraid of Frank? Sarah asked, grasping for any justification. Afraid of Frank? Chloe laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. Are you delusional? He wiped the floor with Frank twice. Dad's not afraid of him. He was disgusted by you. By us. He's had enough of your lies. He's divorcing you. I told you this would happen. I don't want a divorce, Sarah wailed. I don't even like Frank. It was just a stupid fling. You were doomed the day I delivered that tire, Chloe said, her voice cold. Frank had nothing to do with it. You made your bed. Now you get to lie in it. Maybe now that his wife is divorcing him, you two can be miserable together. The next day, it got worse. Chloe called me. Dad, Mom got a letter from the health department. Frank's hospital blood test came back positive for an STD. Mom has to get tested and list all of her sexual partners. You're on the list. You'll be getting a letter soon. Wow, I said, a wave of nausea washing over me. Should have seen that coming. Thank you for the heads up. I'll make an appointment today. I had to give Anna credit. Her insistence on protection had been a godsend. On my way home from the clinic, I stopped at a drugstore and bought a jumbo box of assorted condoms. When I got home, I emptied them into a large glass bowl and placed it on my nightstand. A promise to myself. I would never again be so careless. A week later, my test results came back clean. Life fell into a new rhythm. My free time was filled with odd jobs for the ladies in the condo complex. My reputation grew. One evening, Anna admitted she'd told a couple of friends that I was very capable in bed. The secret, apparently, didn't stay secret for long. My condom bowl needed regular refilling. One afternoon, shortly before Easter, I opened my door to find Chloe standing there with a suitcase. Before I could speak, she threw her arms around me. "I'm so sorry, Dad. Please forgive me. Can I stay for a few days?" "Of course," I said, surprised but pleased. "You're always welcome here. Come on, I'll show you to your room. You look good, Dad. Florida suits you," she said, giving me a real smile for the first time in what felt like a year. It was a start. "The A did. I'm wearing Mom's bra size now," Emily said with a small, sad smile. "Though it probably fits me better. She's getting pretty thin. The Shearers are heading to Orlando and were nice enough to drop me off. It's spring break, and I've got 4 days before they haul me back to the snow. This place is nice," she said, looking around the apartment. "It's not as big as our house, but it has everything I need, including a heated pool right outside the door," I agreed. Her eyes landed on my bedroom, and she walked in. "Wow. Looks like you're getting everything you need," she laughed, pointing at the bowl of condoms on my nightstand. "Good for you, Dad. You deserve some fun after everything." "I won't get in your way," she promised. "I'll just park myself by the pool and soak up some of that orange ball in the sky." I think I remember seeing it once. Back in Ohio, the next evening, we sat at a rib joint, the table littered with bones and empty beer mugs. "Why did you forgive me, Dad?" she asked, her voice quiet. "I don't know if I could have, if I were you. What I did, helping Mom lie to you, I hate myself for it. Short answer," I replied, looking her straight in the eye. "I'm happier with you in my life than without you, and making myself happy is my #1 priority now. I'm glad," she said, her eyes welling up. "Is there any chance for Mom? She's not doing well. Dad, she's lost a ton of weight." After the news broke that Frank was spreading an STD, half the store had to get tested. He got it from some new cashier, and they lit up the place like a Christmas tree. Mom was the only manager on the list. She came home in tears most nights, but she stuck it out. I think she's finally realized how badly she screwed up. Partners are honest with each other, Chloe. They trust each other. I don't trust your mother anymore. I figured, she said with a sigh, especially after I met your harem at the pool today. It was awkward. At least 4 different women came up to ask about you. My dad, the king of the condo. She grinned. Seriously, they all think you're this sensitive, honest, handsome guy who's a tiger in the sack. Mom really messed up, she said, her voice serious again. When I graduate, can I come live with you for the summer? Maybe even go to college down here? I agreed without a moment's hesitation. The weeks flew by. We talked on the phone several times a week. True to her word, the day after her high school graduation, she was on a plane to Florida. I opened the door that Sunday afternoon, a huge smile on my face, ready to greet my daughter, and came face to face with Sarah. For a few seconds that felt like an eternity. I couldn't move or think. Then, the new, calm part of my brain took over. "Come in, Sarah," I said, my voice even. "Can I get you a drink?" "Thank you, Jim. That would be nice," she replied, following me into the kitchen. I poured them both iced tea, and we sat at the small table. "I came to drop Chloe off," she began, not meeting my eyes. "And to tell you, I've transferred my job to the Clearwater Build Mart. We need to decide what to do with the house. You never filed for divorce. So, I didn't know what you wanted. Why are you moving here?" I asked, completely blindsided. She finally looked up, and I saw how much weight she'd lost, how tired she looked. "Because my daughter is here, and because there's nothing for me back in Ohio except gossip and shame. Your parents don't speak to me. Mine are barely better. I disappointed everyone, but mostly you. I can't ask for your forgiveness, because what I did was unforgivable." She took a shaky breath. "I'm just looking for a new start. A place where people don't whisper about me in the break room. By the way, I was glad my test came back clean. You had stopped sleeping with me by the time Frank gave me his little gift. I'm responsible for all of this, Jim. I tried to blame you, then Frank, then the girl who gave it to him. But it was me. All me. I ruined my life, and I almost ruined yours. If you hadn't found out, you would have enjoyed Frank's little gift right along with me. V20 sect. I regret all of it, she whispered, her voice cracking. I don't know how I thought it was normal, like I was entitled to some cheap fling. I even dragged Chloe into it, and I'll never forgive myself for that. I almost ruined her relationship with you because I was selfish. She warned me over and over that Frank was an ass and that this would end badly. I didn't listen. She looked up at me, her eyes pleading. I'm so glad you've let her back into your life. Your love and approval mean everything to her. It meant everything to me, too, before I lost my way. So, what's the plan? I asked, cutting through the emotion. Sell the house? Split the money? I thought you already filed for divorce, she said. Isn't Frank single now? I asked, my voice hard. I heard he is, but I don't give a damn about that bastard. She replied, I was stupid, Jim, but not stupid enough to divorce you for him. I thought you had already divorced me. I gave you plenty of reasons. I've been busy, I said, and I hate change. Divorce is a big change. So you want to stay married? She asked, a flicker of hope in her eyes. I started, then stopped. What did I want? We should talk about this. The house, our finances, everything. You can stay here for a few days while we sort it out. Chloe's room has 2 single beds. You can stay there, if she doesn't mind. Won't that make you uncomfortable? She asked. I know I'm not your favorite person right now. I'll be fine, I said. Chloe didn't mind. For the next few days, a strange, fragile version of our old family routine settled over the apartment. I avoided the pool and the other ladies while Sarah was under my roof. I wasn't going to rub her face in it. One evening, after Chloe had gone out, Sarah spoke up. A few of your friends at the pool have been asking when I'm leaving. They keep talking about your big bowl of condoms and which colors they prefer. It's almost funny. They've done everything but tell me I'm ruining their sex life. Have you really made 4 women happy, Jim? I'm impressed. It's a pity I failed to impress you before you met Frank. I snapped back. I'm not going to apologize for it. None of them are married, and they know there are no commitments. I give them as much pleasure as I get, and they seem to enjoy it. Have some fun with me, she said, her voice dropping. No strings attached. I just feel like I owe you for treating me so well after everything. I'm not the same guy you remember, I warned her. I'm more demanding. I tell these women exactly what I want, and they seem to enjoy giving it to me. Then be with me for one night, she promised. I can handle anything you've got. I want to make you feel good. 10 minutes later, we were in my bed. My God, she breathed afterward, trying to catch her breath. That was incredible. You've learned a few new tricks. As she was gathering her clothes, Chloe's voice came from the other room. You guys done making all that noise? I'd like to get some sleep now. Sarah stayed for the summer. She slept in the second bed in Chloe's room, but often found her way into mine. After that first night, I noticed she was counting the condoms in the bowl. A silent, desperate battle had begun. She was trying to wear me out, to leave nothing left for the other ladies. But her shift at Buildmart ended at 10 p.m., and I got home at 5. At least twice a week, she'd come home to find fresh sheets on my bed and the condom bowl a couple of units lighter. She spent her mornings by the pool, enduring the polite, cutting remarks from the other women. They all knew she was the one who had broken our marriage. One morning, Anna Struthers sat down next to her. Sarah, did you pick out the new blue sheets for Jim's bed? They go so well with the curtains. Yes, they do, another woman chimed in. Such a beautiful, masculine color. And Jim is such a very masculine man. That night, Sarah was desperate. "You don't need those women, Jim. I'll give you anything you want, as much as you want. I'm enough for you, aren't I?" "Exactly," I replied, a slow smile spreading across my face. "Then why are there 2 fewer condoms in the bowl today? And how does everyone know what color our bedding is?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I have no idea," I said, leaning back against the pillows, feeling a sense of complete and total control for the first time in a very long time. This was my life now, and everyone in it was playing by my rules.